It's the first document of its kind in the federal government. TSA has just released its Innovation Doctrine, a framework on how the agency intends to outmatch evolving threats. Meg King is the Executive Director for Strategy, Policy Coordination, and Innovation at TSA. Meg, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So the Innovation Doctrine states this, quote, "For our organization to remain relevant with the speed of change and be prepared for future threats and challenges, innovation cannot be a hero-led activity." What does that mean?
Well, that means that we've always embraced innovation since our founding. We're all innovators, disruptors, creators, and leaders. Because TSA was created after a crisis, we had to be innovative. Now we're ready to embed it in everything we do. And the Innovation Doctrine makes it a policy that anyone from our workforce to the public can read. And it's meant to empower anyone to be part of an enterprise level system for innovation. And there are four big goals. It's that creating and facilitating and allowing that system to grow is number one. Number two is using, as you mentioned, a framework to identify problems, to test solutions through small bets by building a pipeline. Three is to rapidly implement innovative ideas that are viable so people can see that innovation is possible and that it doesn't need to take a long time. And then four, that TSA will grow a network of employees, but private industry, academia, and non-government organizations so that we can sustain innovation across the transportation sector.
So a big component of this doctrine is the innovation pipeline. What is that?
So it's a way for us to identify problems and to field them and test them. We've got 5 names so that they're kind of fun to remember. So it's source, curate, discover, incubate, and transition. And so that means that we plan to look for those challenges, and then we need to look through and discover the actual causes, the root causes of those challenges, and how we can find new opportunities to address them in new ways. We need to then take them out and test them, and then grow the capability, and then we hand it off, because enterprise innovation is not meant to be its own innovation office, for example. It's meant to establish it across the agency.
You know, Meg, you've mentioned this before, and the doctrine talks about an empowered workforce. But a common criticism of federal agencies is there's a disincentive to take risks. So if you fail, you get blamed, but if you don't try, you don't get blamed.
Well, that's part of why this doctrine matters. It's a roadmap, and it's a guidebook, basically. Here's how we think we should do it. Here's what we've learned over 2 decades in the transportation security sector. And here's how we're going to do it in a disciplined way so that we all know how to do it, and we all know that it is okay if a project doesn't work. We need to test it, again, using a small bet, but if we don't try, we will never innovate, we will never succeed.
The document also talks about cultivating a highly effective innovation culture. But culture is really hard to change. So what's the plan to do that?
Well, a couple of things. One is we've identified a number of airports across the country. Aviation is obviously a significant part of the transportation sector that want to innovate. And so we created this kind of network called Lift Cells, or Local Innovation for TSA. And our enterprise innovation team just had a group of over 20 airports come together to identify problems, large and small, that they themselves can then fix. So there are a couple of organizational structures that we're putting in place, that pipeline, so that everyone knows that that's how the process works. That's how we identify challenges and we work through solving them. Then there are these organizational groups where people can come together and know that they can both get resources and support, as well as talk to each other and find out how lessons are learned and what works in some places and what might work better in others.
And Meg, can you give us an example of an innovative project that TSA is already working on?
Oh, there are many. One of my favorites is, can you imagine what it would be like if you had even an estimate about how long it might take you to get through security at an airport, so that you might either leave later or earlier. So we're working on how to identify what those average times might be in certain places, and some airports are very excited about the possibility of being able to predict what your wait time might be so that we can be more efficient and effective in our security at airports.
And can you tell us about some of the biggest threats that we're currently facing to the nation's transportation systems?
They are dynamic, and as the administrator has said many times, getting more complicated and complex. So you have a growing number of individuals who are potentially interested in carrying out violent acts, harder to track in the US than the foreign threats that we traditionally track. We also have new technologies that people are using, and not necessarily in an adversarial way, but I'm thinking uncrewed aircraft, or as commonly known, drones, that both are at risk of coming into contact with aircraft, but also other parts of the transportation sector. So you've got a range of new threats evolving and new challenges every single day.
All right. Well, Meg, I appreciate you being on the program. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future Government Matters interviews.